Alright, good morning YouTube. Back with another video. Welcome back. Kind of excited today. Only had the truck a couple months, but the downhill rake drives me crazy on any truck. I can't stand that. So, today's the day for a level kit. I've been looking around. There's not as much stuff for the Titans as there is, all the other major brand trucks out there. Especially the XD, and then when you add on the Pro 4X, then that cuts out some other kits too. So I was between a couple different kits and just kind of watching and seeing what I wanted to do. Got in touch with the guys at Rough Country because their level/lift kit says it excludes the Pro 4X. I wasn't sure why, so I called them. They explained the geometry with the rear suspension, that their rear blocks don't really do anything. That kit includes front and back, and it's $160. You're kind of paying for extra stuff that you don't need because the back on these is already lifted a little bit higher than the regular Titans are. Plus it's a 3-inch in the front. I didn't quite want to go that high, if that makes sense. There's only about a 2.5-inch difference front to back. So I pull, as you see in the other video, I pull the heavy camper. So I don't want the front too high. I want it to sit level, and then when I hook up the camper, I don't want the back to be too low. So I only wanted 2 inches just to level it out. I settled on the Pro Comp front strut spacer. I waited, and they're actually Pro Comp's website has it for I think 170, 180 bucks just for the front. Waited, and it popped up on Amazon for 50% off. So 90 bucks on Amazon, and I had a gift card from Christmas, so really only cost me 40 bucks. Just the kit, part 64160. Pretty simple, like most strut spacer kits. Just the spacer that goes on top of the strut. New nuts to bolt it onto. Use the factory ones to bolt it down, and then the new nuts once it goes in the truck. But I'll show some of that as I'm putting it on, just in case I need it. Went ahead and rented a strut spring compressor. Sometimes that makes it easier to go back in because it's a tight fitment once you get the spacer on top. So I rented that just in case I run into issues getting the bottom of the strut to go back in and be able to bolt things back up. That makes it a lot easier. So that being said, that's the project today. I'll show you bits and pieces. I'm gonna try and keep track of exactly which tools I use, so that if I use it, it'll come here on the tray. Other stuff will stay in the garage. That way I can give you an exact list of what tools you need to be able to do it. All right, time to get started. All right, strut is out. This was probably one of the easiest ones I've ever done. I've done many of these strut spacer lift kits on all of my previous trucks. I've had 4 previous F-150s. I've leveled each one of those. I have had a Titan previously, but it wasn't an XD. It was a little bit older. And my last truck, the F-350, I did a level on that one, but that was totally different because that's a solid axle. That was a little more involved because you have to drop the whole axle down. At any rate, these are all the tools you're going to need right here. Very easy disassembly. Hopefully it'll go back in just as easy as it came out. If it doesn't, I do have the strut compressor to help get it back up in the hole where it goes. But more or less, 17 millimeter to take the sway bar end link, disconnect that and take that out of the way. 22 millimeter on the tie rod end, take that out of here. That leaves you more space to get the strut out. It's a cotter pin on top, take the cotter pin out, break this loose. Do not pound on this. You could tap it, just don't pound on the top down. That's not the way to get these out. And don't do the fork thing in here because you'll destroy this boot. What you do is get a ball peen hammer and you tap here on the housing itself, and the vibrations of the hammer into that compression fitting will vibrate this thing loose. A few good whacks on here, you're not going to hurt this. This is hard metal. You're not going to hurt it. Pound on this a few times. What I usually do is sometimes you have to separate the upper ball joint the same way. What I normally do is I'll take the nut loose, but I'll leave it on there, pound on it, and you'll see the nut just pop down. That means it's loose. Then I'll take the nut the rest of the way off and pull this out. So sway bar end link, tie rod end. This was a 14 millimeter. This is a 17 millimeter. Then I loosened the bottom bolt, 22 wrench on one side, 22 deep socket or regular socket if you've got the wrench on this side. Regular socket will work on this side. Broke that loose, left the bolt in, but just took the nut off so the bolt was ready to come out. And obviously before I did any of this, support this whole assembly with the jack so nothing's falling as I'm taking stuff apart. Keep that under there, keep the weight supported until you're ready to pull everything out and lower it down. So sway bar, tie rod, took this nut loose, left the bolt in. Then I came to the top up here. Those are 14 millimeter bolts. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. Broke them loose with the ratchet. Then if you don't have some of these are some of the most handy tools when you're working in tight spaces, or even if you're not in tight spaces. These ratcheting wrenches are fantastic. Get yourself a set of those. At any rate, 14 millimeter for those top 3 bolts. After that, then I just lifted the jack. You get it and get the support in the right spot, and then this will just come right out. So it's out. Next thing to do is to bolt that guy right on top. You use the factory nuts on the factory studs, and then it came with its own nuts for up here. These pull off. These are just like protective covers. Pull those off. After these are tightened down, you slide it back in, bolt everything back up just the way it came out. I watched a video the other day, and just so you guys don't make the same mistake, basically top of this strut, the way the bolts are placed is like a triangle. Okay, so it comes out the way that you see it now. Okay, obviously these are going to be off when you put it back in. The way this goes back in, you rotate it 180 degrees. Then you have just flip-flopped your triangle to the opposite way. I watched a video the other day. The guy did this, but he must have put it back in where the triangle was this way. So then when you get down here to put your bolt in, it doesn't fit. It won't fit in that bracket. It has to be 180 degrees. So he said that was the hardest time he had with the whole kit, was bracing this somehow. He did a strut compressor on the spring to take the tension off, and then he rotated the bottom of the strut, and that doesn't make any sense, because if you leave everything where it is, you bolt this on top, you just flip it 180 degrees, your bolt holes line up, that bolt hole lines up, everything works as it should, and you don't have to rotate anything on the strut. So all right, back at it. I'm going to bolt this in, put the video back up. Be back with you in a few minutes. All right, we are back in. It went in just as easy as it came out. Barring going to the other side and having any issues over there, I'll say this is probably the easiest one that I have installed. Whatever that other video I watched of this guy having to rotate the strut bottom to get it to fit, he obviously had the wrong holes up here. He did not have it right, because when you do it 180 degrees, this bolt goes right back in just the way that it came out. 180 degrees, turn it exactly around, go right back through. Y'all saw me, if you see in the time lapse, I go to the other side and lay down over there. What I was doing, what I didn't realize, and I think the instructions said this and I just forgot it, basically should have taken both sides of the sway bar off first, because once this is all out and this is lowered down to get that back in and all, when I go to put this bolt back in, with this being bolted on the other side, which is going to be in the way now, but with this being bolted on the other side still, it was up here and it was right in the way of this bolt going back through now that it's a little bit lower. So I had to go to the other side, disconnect the other side of the sway bar so that it'll drop down here out of the way. Then this bolt went right back through. So this will just stay down out of the way for now till I get the other side completely done. And then once the other side is completely done, then this can bolt back up on both sides. But for now, it'll just hang here so that I can get the other side in and out without any problems. I'll save y'all the time of getting the tire and wheel back on. I'm sure y'all have seen that or done that. If you're attempting to do a level kit, then you will have already known how to take a tire off and on. All right, back with you on the driver's side now. Strut came out fine. I have bolted in the spacer on top, put it back in. Just kind of wanted to show this process of going back in. It can be difficult, but it can be made easy also if you're doing it by yourself. So basically bolt the strut in, it's in here, bolt that on once out, put this back in, put your nuts back on the top, but leave them loose. You don't want anything tight yet because we still have to move this strut around to line it up with this giant hole at the bottom. And this got a cobweb on it. This has got to go back through, then it's got to line up. Sometimes that can be difficult, especially if you're doing it by yourself. So take the weight off by putting these nuts on the top so it holds everything. Get yourself a big pry bar like this. Find the right spot on the spring and the upper control arm, and then you can pry, because sometimes you have to pull this down quite a bit. In this case, I don't. It's really close, but you can pry down. On some trucks, I've really had to crank on this to get this lower control arm low enough to get this bolt back in there. So support the weight up at the top, get a big pry bar, pry against the strut. You can move this where you want, and then while you're doing that, just kind of tap this into place. Out. Mine's not wanting to go in there right. It's a little bit of a tight fit. There we go. Once it's through, then it's just a matter of tapping it the rest of the way. All right, y'all, back with you. Just finished up, got everything bolted back together, got the wheels on, drove around the neighborhood and came back just so the suspension could kind of settle into place and sit how it's going to sit. Very happy with the result. I measured the gap beforehand, or the distance to the fender beforehand in the front and after. It's exactly 1.78 inches difference, so just a hair under 2. Totally fine with that. 1/8 of an inch is not going to make a difference. Looks way better than it did. Has just maybe a 1/2 inch of rake still to the front, but I'm totally fine with that. Again, I'm pulling that giant beast back there, so I don't mind that little bit of rake for when I am pulling. Otherwise, I'm real happy. Good kit, good quality. Everything just as described. Came quick from Amazon. I got it in like a day. Again, for half price, 90 bucks.
This truck, I'll say, and a regular Titan would probably be the same as the XD as far as the installation. Easiest level kit I've ever put on. And I've done, I don't even know, 5 or 6 trucks prior. This is the easiest one by far. I used 22 millimeter deep socket and regular socket, 17 millimeter deep socket and regular socket, 14 millimeter deep socket and regular socket, along with the same sizes with a wrench. I have the ratcheting wrenches. They make some of the jobs easier, but it doesn't have to be ratcheting. You can use regular wrenches, just take a little bit longer. 21 millimeter to get the lug nuts off, but y'all should already have a lug wrench if you're doing this. Simple tools, basic tools. Probably want a ball peen hammer to get the tie rod end out, and then a large pry bar to help you get the bottom of the strut back in the position where it goes so you can get the bolt in. Other than that, that's the only tools you need. Easy out, easy in, no complaints. All went just as expected. Now that I got a little bit more room, now I need some bigger, meatier tires. These factory tires are looking not so good anymore. Not that they looked great before, but my birthday's coming up. Maybe I can sweet talk my wife into some bigger tires. We'll see. Keep y'all posted. Until the next video, love God, love each other, and treat each other like you do. See you on the next one, and thanks for watching.